Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today, we're tackling a topic that really touches all of us eventually, whether we're thinking about our own future or, people we care about. We're looking at the later years of life.
Yeah, we've gone through some pretty interesting material from the Elderly Wisdom channel on YouTube. The idea is to give you a clear rundown on some key things about aging well, but also handling the challenges.
Exactly. So we have insights from basically three angles, right?
That's right. First, there's a video looking at subtle signs that someone might be in their final year, kind of the subtle warnings you shouldn't ignore.
Okay.
Then second, we looked at one focusing on longevity predictors. After 77 signs that predict how long you'll live after 70, based on scientific evidence, apparently.
From third.
And the third is, well, it's quite personal. It's called Why I Regret Moving into a Nursing Home, 6 Hard Truths You Must Know. So some really direct insights there.
Okay, quite a mix. So our aim here is really to pull out the practical stuff, the key takeaways, maybe some surprising facts to help you understand aging a bit better without it feeling, overwhelming.
Precisely. We want to make this complex topic a bit more navigable.
Okay, let's dig in then, starting with those potential signs of the final year. The first one mentioned is significant weight loss.
Yeah, and the key here is that it's unintentional. It's not just, losing a pound or two. We're talking about a noticeable trend, clothes getting looser, appetite really dropping off.
Right.
And the video suggests it's often because the body is just less efficient at absorbing nutrients and muscle mass starts declining. It's not just normal aging fluctuation.
That makes sense. So it's deeper than just deciding not to eat as much. You mentioned underlying reasons.
Exactly. It could be digestive issues, problems processing protein, maybe food just doesn't taste good anymore, or the body's actually signaling it needs less fuel. But it can also flag up more serious conditions.
Like cancer, heart failure, kidney disease, even depression or cognitive decline were mentioned.
Yeah, so it's complex. And that raises the question for families. What do you do?
Right. Forcing food isn't the answer, according to the source.
No, it seems not. The advice leans towards comfort, offering easy-to-eat, nutrient-dense foods, smaller amounts, and really focusing on hydration. The real warning sign is when this weight loss comes with also eating much less, clear weakness, or just, less activity overall.
Okay. That cluster of symptoms is key.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second sign, extreme fatigue and weakness. This isn't just feeling tired, is it?
No, it's described as profound exhaustion, the kind that rest doesn't really fix. Simple tasks suddenly feel overwhelming.
Why does that happen?
Well, the video explains it as the body basically trying to conserve energy. Organ function might be slowing down, circulation isn't as efficient, so less oxygen gets to the muscles. There's also a metabolic slowdown.
Like the body's engine running on low.
Exactly. Less energy is produced, and what is produced gets redirected to just, preservation. So you see more sleep, maybe sudden energy drops.
And the emotional side of that. The video mentioned frustration, embarrassment.
Yeah, it can be really tough. Feeling unable to do things you used to, leading maybe to withdrawal, isolation. It's hard to witness.
So understanding those limits, focusing on comfort, allowing rest, that's the approach.
That seems to be the takeaway, yes. Pushing for activity might not actually help at this stage.
Got it. Okay, third sign, increased cognitive confusion or withdrawal.
Right. And again, this is more than just, the occasional senior moment. It's a noticeable pattern. More forgetfulness, struggling to keep up with conversations, maybe getting disoriented even in familiar places. And this can happen even if there wasn't a history of dementia.
So what's going on in the brain?
The thinking is it's linked to weakened circulation and less oxygen reaching the brain. This can affect decision-making, recognizing people, remembering things, keeping track of time. You might see repetition too.
And it's not just confusion, but withdrawal too.
Yeah, sometimes. Less interest in chatting, speaking less, more silence. It's not always deliberate disinterest, maybe just how their brain is processing things differently. Could also manifest as irritability, anxiety, or even an unusual calmness.
So how do you support someone through that?
The advice is really to meet them where they are. Speak gently, be patient, offer reassurance. Your presence itself can be comforting, even if conversation is difficult.
Okay. Fourth sign, frequent infections and slow healing.
Yeah, getting colds, flu, UTIs, skin infections more easily. And when they get sick, it takes much longer to recover.
That points to the immune system, right?
Exactly. It's just not as strong. It can't fight things off or repair damages effectively. Even antibiotics might not work as well.
And slow healing, like for cuts or bruises.
Wounds just linger. Circulation plays a role there too. And for people who aren't very mobile, pressure sores become a real risk.
That's a good point. And the video mentioned infections showing up differently.
Right. Sometimes, instead of a fever, the first sign might be a sudden mental decline or increased confusion. That's something to watch for in older adults.
So the focus shifts again.
Yeah, less on curing sometimes and more on comfort and prevention. Good hydration, careful skincare, reducing stress on their system.
Makes sense. Okay, the fifth and final sign from this source. Major changes in breathing or circulation.
This could be breathing getting slower or shallower, maybe noticeable pauses between breaths. Sometimes irregular patterns, like something called Cheyne-Stokes respiration.
And the circulation changes.
That often shows up as cold hands and feet, maybe the nose and ears too. The skin, especially out on the limbs, might look pale or bluish or sort of
mottled.
And shortness of breath.
Yeah, even with very little effort. Maybe breathing through the mouth, needing to stop often to catch their breath. Sometimes there's fluid buildup in the lungs too, which can cause a cough or gurgling sounds.
That sounds quite distressing to see. It can be. Yeah. And again, while you might not be able to reverse it, the focus is comfort. A cool room, maybe humidifier, small sips of water, sometimes medications or oxygen can help manage the symptoms.
Okay, that's a very thorough look at some difficult signs. Let's shift gears now to the longevity piece, signs predicting how long you might live after 70. First up was walking speed.
Yes. And what's interesting isn't just that it predicts longevity, but why. It's like a quick check on your overall system, health, cardiovascular function, muscle strength, even how well your brain is working. A steady, brisk pace is linked to living longer after 70.
It makes intuitive sense, doesn't it? If you can move well, things are probably working okay underneath.
Exactly. And the good news here, the video suggests, is that you could potentially improve it. More walking, some leg exercises, it might actually make a difference. So paying attention to how you walk is worthwhile.
Okay. Second sign, grip strength. I have to admit, I wouldn't have immediately thought of that one.
Me neither, initially. But it's presented as a really clear indicator of overall vitality. A firm grip suggests strong muscles, good circulation, a healthy nervous system.
And a weaker grip.
That can be an early sign of muscle loss, sarcopenia, and frailty. It might mean a higher risk for health problems down the line.
Interesting. And again, something you can work on.
Apparently so. Things like squeezing a stress ball, using hand grippers, even light weights can help maintain or improve it.
Okay. Sign number 3, the ability to stand on one leg.
Yeah, this one was presented as a surprisingly strong predictor.
Really? Why is that? Balance seems simple, but I guess it involves a lot.
It really does. You need decent leg strength, a sharp nervous system coordinating things, and your brain's balance centers working properly. Difficulty balancing is linked not just to a higher risk of falls, which are a huge issue for older adults.
Right. Falls can be devastating.
But it might also indicate some underlying cognitive decline.
But balance can be improved too, right?
Yes. Simple things like practicing that one-leg stand, heel-to-toe walking, maybe activities like Tai Chi, which are great for balance.
Good to know. Okay, sign number 4, sleeping patterns.
No big surprise here, maybe. Consistent, good quality sleep is linked to a longer, healthier life after 70.
Yeah, that fits with everything we hear about sleep's importance for overall health. Poor sleep messes with memory, heart health, immunity.
Absolutely. And it's not just how long you sleep, but the quality. The video recommended things like having a routine, cutting down screen time before bed, getting some natural sunlight, avoiding heavy meals late at night. Pretty standard sleep hygiene advice, but clearly important.
Definitely. Sign 5, appetite and eating habits.
Crucial. Having a healthy appetite, eating a balanced diet that fuels your strength, your immune system, your energy levels.
And the flip side.
A sudden loss of appetite or consistently poor eating can be a red flag. It might signal underlying health problems, and it definitely speeds up aging by contributing to muscle loss and frailty. Could be digestion, hormones, even cognitive issues affecting appetite.
So don't just ignore a shrinking appetite. Focus on nutrient-dense foods, hydration.
Exactly. Number 6 is the ability to handle stress.
Ah, stress, the perennial issue.
Indeed. People who manage stress well tend to stay healthier, more active, and mentally sharper in their later years.
And we know chronic stress is bad news for the body, right? Weakens immunity, ups the risk for heart disease.
Precisely. It accelerates aging. So finding ways to manage it, mindfulness, exercise, deep breathing, staying socially connected is really key for long-term health.
Which brings us neatly to the final sign, number 7, social connections.
Yes, a really vital one. Strong ties, friends, family, community involvement are strongly linked to living longer and healthier.
And loneliness is the opposite.
Very much so. Loneliness is associated with higher risks of heart disease, depression, cognitive decline, even dying earlier. Human connection literally seems to buffer stress, keep the brain active, and promote well-being.
So making an effort to stay connected is really an investment in your health.
Absolutely. Even small efforts count.
Okay, that's a much more positive set of factors to consider.
Yeah.
Now let's tackle the third source, the more difficult one about regrets moving into a nursing home. The first hard truth was about losing independence.
Yes, and this came across really powerfully in the personal account. It's the shift from controlling your own day when you wake, eat, what you do, to suddenly being on the facility's schedule for everything.
Simple choices become privileges.
Exactly. The narrator talked about how adapting to the system can make you feel like you're losing a part of yourself. It really makes you value those small, everyday freedoms.
It's a huge adjustment. And the question it raises is, are you or is your loved one truly ready for that loss of control? Because getting it back is hard.
Very hard. The second regret was feeling forgotten.
That sounds incredibly painful.
It does. The reality, as the narrator described it, is that life goes on outside. Even with the best intentions, visits might become less frequent. It's easy for family to assume everything's okay because someone is in care.
Out of sight, out of mind, potentially.
Sadly, yes. The loneliness described, especially during holidays, sounded profound. It's a reminder that being in a facility doesn't automatically mean you're not isolated. Consistent connection is still vital.
A very sobering point. Third regret. Losing a sense of purpose.
Yeah, the things that structure your day and give it meaning, chores, hobbies, responsibilities, often disappear. The narrator talked about days feeling long and empty, leading to withdrawal, feeling useless.
It highlights how much we need something to, work towards or care for.
Right. Simply having activities scheduled isn't the same as having genuine purpose. Finding ways to maintain that sense of meaning, even within the constraints, seems critical.
Okay, fourth regret. Declining health faster than expected. This seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? The expectation might be that care, better health. But the narrator found that reduced activity levels, because everything was easier or done for them, actually led to quicker muscle loss and stiffness.
So the increased reliance on help kind of backfired physically.
In their experience, yes. It underscores that movement is fundamental for survival, not just convenience. Staying motivated to be active when everything is made easy can be a real challenge.
A kind of cautionary tale about too much support, perhaps.
Potentially, yes. The fifth regret was about the loss of privacy and dignity.
That must be incredibly difficult. Constant staff presence, scheduled checks, shared rooms.
Exactly. Needing help with very personal things, showering, using the restroom, eating can be hard to accept. The feeling described was less like being a person living their life and more like being a patient being managed.
Losing control over those basic daily choices and potentially difficult roommate situations too.
All contributing to that erosion of personal space and dignity. It really emphasizes finding environments that prioritize respect for the individual.
Absolutely. And the final, sixth regret. Realizing it's much harder to leave a nursing home than you might think.
Yeah, what starts as maybe a temporary stay can become permanent for lots of reasons. Maybe the old home is gone or sold, family might worry about them living alone again, or maybe their physical condition has declined while in the home, making independent living less feasible.
Financial constraints too, I imagine.
Definitely. The point made was that the nursing home can slowly become your whole world, and the barriers, practical and emotional, to leaving can become really significant. It's something to think about carefully beforehand.
Okay. So pulling all this together, we've explored some potential signs pointing towards the final year, looked at factors backed by science that seem to influence longevity after 70, and heard some really important, frankly difficult truths about the nursing home experience from someone who lived it.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. As you navigate your own aging process, or maybe support parents or other loved ones, how can you proactively use these insights? How do you weave in the knowledge about well-being and longevity while still respecting individual choices and, preparing for different possibilities?
Yeah. What small changes, maybe informed by what we've discussed, could you consider for yourself? Or what conversations might you need to have openly and honestly with your loved ones?
Definitely some food for thought there. It's about being informed and prepared as much as possible.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it gives you some valuable perspectives to reflect on.